So this is day 5 automation, Selenium automation testing session, and we still have many topics to cover as I discussed on Skype group already. I think we will need to extend our session by 3 to 4 hours. So hope will continue from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If there is any change in the plan, I will let you know on Skype as well as WhatsApp. I hope that will work for everybody. So let's talk about the sessions that are I'm going to cover today. So these were few sessions, those were pending. So opening URL we already done with this driver.get, and then we have to pass the URL so that it will open a URL. Guys, there is other alternative ways. We open Eclipse. There are other alternative ways also that I will show you about the navigation, how to control the browser navigation, that thing. Okay, till the time Eclipse get opens, we can discuss later. So we already learned how to perform a click on an element. Driver.find element, whichever the locator is. Now I am expecting everybody should be good in locators because we learn CSS selector and XPath for 2 hours. So you can write any locator, let's say by XPath, and some XPath, let's say like / input, which is having attribute. In XPath, attribute is @type equal to button, maybe, just for example, and I wanted to click on that. So just at the end, this line will give me web element object. On the web element, I'm calling click. Okay, then again, very easy for typing also. So for example, driver.find element by dot XPath by dot XPath / input type, sorry, my bad, input tag attribute type is equal to text, just assume, and sorry, yes, and @name is equal to username. Okay, and then you call send keys and whatever key you wanted to type into that text box. So vikastanghi@gmail.com. Okay, so basically, I just wanted to revise you XPath. That is the reason I'm actually giving examples of a XPath here. But let's say if the username is unique, you should be using, the first preference should go with by.name username instead of writing this long XPath. Okay, another standard while writing XPath is try to see one element can be located with one attribute or many attributes. So try to minimize the attribute. For example, if input type equal to text is not something which is uniquely identifying element, just remove it. And maybe if the tag name is not required, don't write it, just make it generically. So this is sufficient. But again, as I said, if you're only using username for name for identifying an element, I do not recommend using a XPath. I recommend directly name and then directly type a username. So this is the best approach I would suggest. Now, how to perform a select from a drop down list? Let's go and check that. So that's my Eclipse. Okay, let me see if there is any drop down list with select. There should be. Can you see any option for drop down option? Yes, drop down. Sorry, my
Yeah,
bad.
it's there, drop down.
It was easy. Okay, please select an option. So there are some options. This is generally I don't prefer to go with sample applications. I mean it is just like option one, option two, and that way I generally don't prefer. But let me check if I can show you some sample application. Oops, there are many pages. So let me open any page with Firefox browser. Okay, yeah, okay. Let's take example of this page. It has a radio button, it has a checkbox, show password button is also there. And okay, mouse over scenario is there. Let's go back. Check some other fields also. Okay, that's one example. Okay, this is another example. I'm just checking if any of this element is having some JavaScript validation also. That will help us. No, this is patch 2. Alright, doesn't matter. Okay, we can pick any one from here. Okay, let's take example. Let's take this as a test website. It has some controls that we can automate. Alright, so what I'm doing is okay, there is one question from Kiran. Is it possible to call a method inside of copy paste of browser setting each time? Thanks. Yes, but there is no built-in method for copy and pasting. But you can simulate copy paste. I generally don't recommend that approach because copy pasting and let's say you have some code which is copy pasting and you are running test cases in a parallel. So in that case, it will it might that copy paste may only work on the current active window. It doesn't work specific to one browser. Let's say you have minimized your browser and there you wanted to perform copy paste that way. So it is not possible, right? You have to be you have that browser to be open on the screen, visible on the screen, then only you can perform copy and paste. That is the problem with the copy paste. So I don't recommend using a copy paste. Instead, send keys is the good option. All right, so project name I will give is automation or browser user action simulation. Okay, I will need some initial code, so I'm just going to copy paste it here. I haven't started with framework yet. I will do that slowly also, so I don't need to copy paste this code again and again, at least for one project. So close project. Let's create a class, new class. My class name is let's say action simulation. All right, I'm adding a main method. Oh, sorry. Yesterday we also started with TestNG. Okay, so here onwards we won't be using main method because this is not the way automation tester works. So in automation testing framework you will not see main methods. So just go with the TestNG test. I wanted to create a test case, not just a main method. See guys, I'm just trying to do this parallel thing. So we are also learning this browser simulations, and we are also going to learn TestNG features. These features. So let's combine together. All right. So I'm going to add a test case. Add the red test. Can you see add the red test and any option from where it is coming, which package? No. No, we can't, right? Because we haven't added the dependencies. We haven't added the libraries. So to do that, go to your project, properties, Java build path, and then if it is a jar file which is external to your project, you go and add an external jar. In our case, we have to add that Selenium server standalone jar file 3.4.0 and add library for TestNG. Okay, yesterday I showed you how to install TestNG plugin for your Eclipse. It was pretty easy. Just go to help Eclipse marketplace and then search TestNG here. It will download online TestNG for your Eclipse and will be installed automatically. So just test. Wait a second, it is still loading a list. TestNG and hit search. All right, so here is the plugin. Okay, 485k downloads so far, 13,134 in last month only. So I already installed it, so I won't be able to install it again. But you guys please do this installation before starting any program from the script or before getting started with TestNG. So let's wait. I just clicked on that install button, so I can do some changes and install that way. I don't want to actually, so I'm just closing it. Now go here and say control space and see whether the TestNG org.testng annotations is getting added. It is getting showed here in the list. If I double click, you can see that line will get added here. So import is required for all Java classes that I will be using in my class. All right, so let's go and write a test case. The test case should have public void return data type. Okay, you can give any name. Let's say test registration. that is my test case test registration, and I just copy pasted few lines of code. So as soon as I paste it, automatically that import statement will be also copied. Okay, Eclipse is very smart, it just adds from where to import. We already learned using a Gecko driver. Gecko driver is for controlling Firefox. Now I think this time we should go with a Chrome. Okay, so for automating a Chrome, you should download first Chrome driver. So seleniumhq.org/download. So all download related to Selenium you will get on this page. 3.4 is still the same version that we are using. We are using the latest version of Selenium. And then scroll a little bit down. You will see Google Chrome driver. The latest version is 2.29. It was released in 4th April. So let's go to 2.2.9, and Chrome driver for Windows is only coming in a 32-bit. For Linux, you have a 64-bit, 32-bit variant. For Mac, it is always 64, but for Windows, it is always 32. So I'm just going to download that. It is just a 3.62 MB file. Once it is downloaded, you need to extract that Chrome driver.exe file. So I'm going to copy that, and I have a folder on E driver, so I will just go there and will put it E drive/drivers. Okay, I'm just putting it here. So Chrome driver.exe. Take out that name, go to Eclipse and paste it here. Oh, sorry, paste it here. All right, so this should not be a webdriver.gecko, it should be webdriver.chrome.driver. All right, so driver equal to new Firefox driver. No, I won't be launching Firefox driver. So I'm going to launch a Chrome driver. So Chrome driver. All right, see, this line will show me warning because this is imported but not used. The shortcut key is Control Shift O. Control Shift O will import required classes, and it will remove imported classes but which are not used. So next line is driver.manage.window.maximize. There are some methods which works on a window size and those things. So for example, driver dot manage dot window, right? Is it, am I right? Driver dot manage dot window, yes, dot minimize. This is one method that will help me to minimize a window. Dot maximize. This is another method. As again on window, you can actually get size. Okay, I'm not 100% sure is it get size or what. So let's go to Eclipse and try, because there are less chances of doing a mistake. So driver dot manage dot window dot get size. Yeah, I'm right. So get size will basically give you the object of what get size gives, what object of dimension, and dimension object has height and width. So basically it will give you what is your height and width of your browser. Okay, if you're automating website into a mobile, still the same code. If you're automating native application with a mobile, still you have to use the same code. It will give you the screen size. If you're automating, if you want to change your size, I want to change my browser size to look like a mobile, then you can say set size, and then you have to pass object of dimension. Okay, you can see that it requires a dimension object. I don't have a dimension object created, but I can create dimension object runtime. So I'm just saying new. New is the keyword, right? We use a new keyword for creating dimension, creating any object. So new dimension, and then you have to specify width and height. So let's say I wanted to open on, let's say maybe Nexus mobile. So I'm not sure what will be the height and width of a Nexus phone. I will have to find out the screen resolution, and then you have to set the proportional height and width. You need to calculate that proportions and then you have to set it. But for now, I will say width is equal to 700 and height is, sorry, my bad. Width equal to, I don't know, maybe 400 or maybe 300. Let's make it 350 and 700 or 800. I will set a height. So I don't want to maximize my browser now because I'm going to set some specific size. You can read that size using a get size. Also, there is one more option. Driver.window.get position. Get position will return you object of what? Point. So point is a class, okay, and that point class has x, y fields. So it will tell you basically, the starting coordinate. Now, for example, let's say this is my browser, and this point. Can you see this? This point. This point is considered to be position. Okay. So it has x and y coordinate. How many of you know, guys, the x and y? Where is the 0, 0 point of any computer? We have x and y coordinate in computer, right? So where is the 0, 0 point? Where is the origin point of my screen? Top left. Absolutely right. So you see a corner this. So this corner is actually point 0 and 0. Sorry for bad writing. I'm not good at drawing. So yeah, top left corner is the 0, 0 point. Very good, Vicky, Snehal, Himanshu, and Shreyash. So this is actually why this is x coordinate, and this one is, sorry, my bad. This is x coordinate and this is y coordinate, right? Y coordinate is horizontal and x is vertical. So you can actually find out what is the coordinate here. So these are the values which will be written by the point object. All right, let me clear that. Fine. So you will get this position, where your browser is there on actually screen. So if you want to get a position, not sure if you have a set position also. Yes, you have a set position. You can actually move your browser from one point to other point if you want, but generally people don't do that. So these are few methods that works on a window. Okay, let's continue. I have set timeout. After setting a timeout, next thing I will do is opening a URL. So driver dot get is the URL method which is used to open a URL. Okay. I actually forgot that which application we opened, but maybe I'm expecting in Firefox history we should have that. Registration.html. Yes, this is it. So just copy here URL, go to your Eclipse and paste that URL. All right. Now let's learn about some navigation part. That was a browser, right? So let's say I wanted to reload a page. Just assume, we are actually learning how to select from a drop down. That is the main topic. The same topic, same time we are also covering few minor topics like how to work with a window, how to work with the navigation as well. So let's say I wanted to reload my page. Okay, I already opened a URL, but I just wanted to refresh the page. So driver dot manage dot navigate, sorry, driver dot navigate directly, not manage. Manage is for settings. Okay, driver dot navigate dot refresh. So this function will actually help you to refresh your page. Okay, I will add that into here, okay, there were two. We also learned set position, set size, set position, that I will also add into notepad so that it will help you. There was a method get size. Okay, get size is already written. There was another method get position. It was going to return xy point object, and from that point object you can use x and y that way. So okay, let's go back and driver.navigate.refresh. It will reload my page. Driver.navigate. There is another option. One option of opening a URL is get, right? This is what we have learned so far. But there is another option, which you can use for opening a URL. So driver.navigate to, and then you have to specify the URL to which URL you want to navigate. For example, http://google.com. So if I run this code, first it will open this page, then I'm refreshing it, and then it will open Google. So let's give a run and see whether it works or not. I'm going to use Chrome driver this time because we already learned how to work with the Firefox. So this is my Chrome browser. The Chrome browser will show you a message that the Chrome is being controlled by automated software. And if you have observed one thing, so initially the browser size is set to some given size that you can see, I guess, here, and a Google page is open. I think height is too much. We should reduce that. Right now the Google page is open. Okay, it is not displayed properly because the window size we have set. Let me close it. All right, so height was too much, so let's reduce it, maybe 700. All right, so this is the way you can actually navigate to some URL. Okay, there is two method is overloaded, so you can also pass object of URL. Fine. There are a few more things that you should know from to navigate. Let's say I'm going to Google, http://www.google.com, and now after loading a Google page, let's go back to the previous page. So for that, driver.navigate.back is the method that we call, so that it will go back to my page. So after going back, I will just so I will just print that URL of that current browser. That URL has to be this, right? So I'm going to read the URL. That URL I can read from driver.getCurrentURL. Okay, and that URL, whichever I'm getting, I'm just passing it to the system.out.println. Fine. Let's run it as TestNG test. Kiran has a question. Navigate open bracket close bracket and refresh open bracket close bracket. Both method belongs to WebDriver. Actually, Kiran, yes, both belongs to WebDriver. How do we write this method? We write driver dot navigate dot refresh. But if your question is both belongs to the WebDriver, both are coming from the WebDriver interface, then the answer is no. Only navigate method. We write navigate method on the driver. That means navigate method is coming from the driver, and refresh method is coming from the object which is returned by navigate. So overall, when you say WebDriver as a tool, then everything, every line of code is actually a WebDriver code. But if you are talking about specifically with WebDriver interface, then only navigate method is there in the WebDriver interface. Okay, not refresh. Refresh method is present inside the navigate. So navigate returns object of navigation, if you can see navigation, and on that navigation object you are calling refresh method. Guys, please keep your eyes open every time. Like for example, if I'm calling a manage, it is returning me object of options. On that options object, I am calling window method. Window method will return me object of window. On that window object, I am calling set size. So just keep your eyes open. Whenever you are writing any code, uh, you know, retrospect what you are doing, what is that code and what this method is returning. Okay, so it will help you to learn Selenium. Eclipse has a very nice feature of showing, from what it is coming, where it is coming from. Now, for example, get method is coming from a WebDriver. See, navigate method is coming from a WebDriver, WebDriver.navigate. But refresh method is coming from WebDriver interface. It is having a navigation. It might be an interface, inner interface inside a WebDriver, and then refresh. Okay, so actually yes, navigate and refresh both are coming from a WebDriver, but navigate is the direct member of a WebDriver, whereas refresh is present inside a navigation and which is again a present inside a WebDriver. Alright, let's continue. So I'm just getting that URL, printing that URL. So let's run my code and see whether it works or not. See, this is our registration form. Refresh ho gaya, then now it is loading that Google and again came back to the registration form and the test case is passed. This was the URL which is printed. Okay. Now let's say I wanted to compare whether that URL which I'm getting from a browser with my expected URL. So let's say I will move this URL into some variable. Okay, page URL is equal to, okay, I just copied that URL into page URL. Okay, now come here and let's say instead of printing, what I would do is string, I will say actual URL which is coming from a browser. And now it is time to compare expected and actual. Guys, we are slowly learning TestNG also. We are slowly learning testing also. Yesterday we talked about, right? We are learning automation testing. Automation testing is combination of two words. First is automation and second is testing. So automation part is handled by Selenium WebDriver, whereas testing part is handled by the TestNG. So now what I'm doing is I'm actually combining both. So you can see this is a TestNG code and this is all Selenium code, and now I'm writing some TestNG code. So there is a class assert. This class is going to help me to compare actual and expected. So you can see that assert is coming from JUnit framework, assert is also coming from JUnit, assert is coming from TestNG. Okay, so there are three assets. Which tool I'm using? Am I using a JUnit? No, right? I'm not using a JUnit. I'm using actually TestNG right now. So I will import the TestNG asset. So just double click here. You can see that import statement org TestNG from asset TestNG.asset. And on this asset, there are some static methods. Okay, so static methods are non-instance method which are getting called over a class. So we write class name and dot method name. So my class name is asset dot method name is assert equals. Okay, and what it takes two parameters. First parameter is actual, second parameter is expected. So what is my actual? Actual is this URL that I am passing, and expected is the URL which I gave while opening the page. So that's my expected URL. And if both are not matching, then obviously this is going to fail my test case saying that expected is not matching with actual. This is what expected, this is what the actual was. So I will show you a demo now. For example, this is the case. I will run my test case. Right click, run as TestNG test. Okay, the registration page, Google page, and back to registration page. The test case is passed or failed. Can you see any fail count? No. That means my test case got passed. If you go to test and result of test of running class this, you can see green. That means it is passed. The count is here. Pass is 1. Okay. Here is the count if you can see. So pass 1, fail 0, skipped 0. Alright. So that's done. My test case got passed. Let's say let's try to fail the test case and see what happens. I'm saying that actual URL, okay, and just adding something just to make this fail. Added URL part, because I want to fail this test case. That is the reason I'm just adding something with the expected URL, not with actual. Sorry, my bad. With the expected URL, I will do that. Added URL part something, and let's run this test case and see what happens. Registration page, Google page, back to registration page, and you can see that test case is failed. And let's see what is the failure message. What it says, assertion error. Expected was this was my expected thing, but actually found is this. Actually found is registration.html. I was expecting registration.html.added URL part. This way I was expecting, which I'm not getting. So it is failed. But can you see that failure message? Let's go to the result and see there is a test case fail. It is red. And what it is, it says that assertion error expected was this and actual is this. But this is not giving me more clear picture that what exactly failed. I can see a URL is not matching, but why and when it is not matching. So optionally, add the assert equal statement. The last parameter you can add is the failure message. So message I'm writing here is failed to go back to registration page from Google. Okay, so this is a failure message that I'm explicitly adding. This failure message will only be added to my test report. This failure message will explicitly added to my test report, implicitly actually, when the expected and actual are not matching. Okay, and one more thing is like this browser is not getting closed. I have to close it every time, so I'm going to add driver dot close. Okay, so that browser will be automatically closed. Right click, run as TestNG test. See, it is opening Google page. Okay, and now it is going back to the registration page. All right, still my test case is failed. Can you see that browser was closed or not? See, the browser is still open. It was not getting closed. Can anyone tell me why browser is not getting closed? Please read this failure message. Yes, it is right answer from Ashish Prashant. And because my assertion got failed, so what this line will do is, if it is not matching, it will fail my test case and the next code will be skipped. So it might be browser closing, or any other code that will be getting skipped because my test case got failed. Program is stopped. Suyesh has a question. Not sure, but is program is stopped after error? Suyesh, actually yes, you are partially right. It is not the program, it is the test case. So if assertion, the job of assertion is to decide whether my test case is pass or fail. It will compare expected and actual. And if it is not matching, it is going to fail the test case and it will skip the remaining code from the same test case. It doesn't mean that it will terminate my program. Okay. Let's say if there are 5 test cases and one test case got failed, then remaining code from the same test case will be skipped and it will jump to the next test case. Okay, there is a question from Ashish. Can you please tell me difference between verify and assert? Verify and assert. First thing, in WebDriver there is no verify. Okay, in WebDriver there is no assert. Assert is a part of TestNG. It is not a part of verify. Okay, I will show you again. See, assert is coming from org.testng.assert. It is not a part of WebDriver. The job of WebDriver is only automate, not to test. The job of TestNG is to perform testing. So assert will compare expected and actual result, but verify, it is a keyword that is coming from Selenium IDE. Verify keyword is not there in Selenium or a TestNG. It is only there in Selenium IDE. And the job of verify keyword is to validate expected and actual like the same way it is doing in like for assert, but only difference is even though the condition getting fail, still remaining steps will be executed in Selenium IDE. Okay, this is in case of verify. If verify is getting fail, still it will continue its steps execution after verify. Okay, but if assert is getting fail, it will stop my test execution. But this is only a verify keyword is only in Selenium IDE. Make a note of this, in a bold. All right, I hope this clears your doubt. Fine. Next is, okay, there is a problem. The problem is driver is not getting closed if the test case is getting failed. Okay. Okay. There is a question from Suyesh. He's saying, so if we have 5 test cases and first test failed, then rest 4 will not get tested. Okay, no Suyesh, this is not the case. Let's say, okay, this right now I just have one test case. Okay, let me add another test case at the red test. Let's say public void test case 2. Okay, this is another test case that I am adding into same class. You can have multiple test cases into same class. No necessary to have it in a different classes. Public void, let's say test case 3. So total I have 3 test cases. This is 1, 2, 3. By default, both of this test case will get passed because there is nothing in the code. But this test case will be getting failed because I have given incorrect expected URL. So this test case, both this will get passed, but this is going to fail. Okay, it does the failure of this test case is not going to affect the remaining test cases until and unless there is some dependency or you're not making the same driver instance here. So I will just quickly run it and see the outcome. All right, okay, just ran one test case. Let me check whether test is okay. Let's run it again. Right click, run as TestNG test. All right. Can you see the current status? How many test cases executed? 3. Failure is 1. That means the remaining 2 test cases got passed. So if you go to result, there you see test case 2, 3 got passed and this test case got failed. Okay. All right. Now let's come back to the problem. See, my browser is not getting closed. So I hope Suyesh, I have answered your question. My question now, next thing is, I think Prashant, we are getting diverted from the topic. I will definitely take your question. Which test case will run first? Maybe just after this, okay? So I want my browser to be closed. Doesn't matter is it the test case is passed or failed. So in that case, TestNG has some more annotations. At the rate test annotation tells the below function is not a normal function. This is a test case. Okay. There is one more annotation at the rate after method. So after method is another notation coming from TestNG. Public void. Let's say I will give name as a cleanup. Some people give tear down method name, but I give cleanup. Yeah. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to check if driver is null. Is it null or it is not null? If driver is not null, okay, then close the driver. Okay, but the problem is driver instance. It is local to this method. That WebDriver declaration is there in this method. You cannot access this local variable of this method into another method, right? So for doing that, what I will do is I will move my driver as the class member. So it will be accessible in other methods also. Okay, so driver, and here I'm initializing that driver. Here I'm just checking whether that driver is, sorry for typo. Here I'm just checking whether the driver is not null. If it is not null, then only close it. Okay, is this is clear now? Let me close the already open browsers. Okay, now let's run the test case. Right click, run as TestNG test, and see whether driver is getting closed or not. Okay, it's going to Google. Okay, back to registration, and you can see the browser is now closed, because after method will be called irrespective whether the test case is getting failed or the test case is getting passed, but still after method will be called. Okay, fine. So now this is helping me to close my browser. But similarly, let's say I wanted to have a browser for every test case, open a browser for every test case. So this is a code for opening my browser, right? And setting the size and timeout and opening a URL. Okay, let's say, okay, opening URL is code is here, right? So let me cut that code. Okay, let's write another annotation. There is one more annotation before method public void init driver, or you can say launch browser or something, that name you can give public. Okay, so in init driver it is having annotation before method. So this before, okay, I will just add one more line for your reference. Running before method initializing browser. Okay, in the test case I will add one more line. In test case I will add one more line. The starting registration test case. Okay, at the end, okay, driver.close I will remove that line, because the close will be handled by cleanup, right? So I don't need close in my test case. Yes, Suyesh, I will answer your question. What is the difference between close and quit? Please make a note of this question. I will answer once I'm done with this small topic. Next part is also I will have that same line, that done registration test case, starting test case. What is the name? Test case 2. Okay, it has no lines, so I'm saying done test case 2, just for our reference, when this test case is getting executed, and that information we can actually get from this. And in cleanup, I will just add one line saying that closing browser. Okay guys, see, this page URL is not accessible here because this page URL variable is local variable of init driver method. Okay, and if I wanted to access this variable, I'm just removing it from here and keeping it into class member. Okay, so these are my class members. So generally people write class member data members first and then methods inside a class. So this is my data and these are my methods. Guys, it doesn't matter if what is the sequence of writing test methods. Okay, now for example, before method, test, after method, it is not necessary that you should have the same sequence. You can actually change the sequence. For example, I can just move after method first, okay, and before method and then test case, but the calling sequence will be before method, then actual test case, then after method. Okay, and then again before method, another test case, and after method. So the call will look like something like this. So notepad, so call will look like this: before method, then actually test method will get called, then after method. Okay, now this is done for one test case. Now it will do the same thing for another test case. Let's say again before method, test method, and after test. This is for another test case and this is for another test case. So for every test case, before method and after method will be called. I hope this is clear now. All right, so I'm going to run this test. Right click, run as TestNG test, and see what happens. So running before method, initializing browser, the browser is getting open. Now see, starting test case 2, done with test case 2, closing browser test case 2. Running before method, initializing driver, starting test case 3, done with test case 3, closing browser test case 2. Oh, I think I should remove that closing browser test case 2. By mistake I kept that in after method. Yeah, this part. Okay, that was my bad. Okay, let's go to clips and see. Oh, see, the test case execution is done. I'm just going here. See, test case 2 was called first, test case 3 was called first, and then test registration was called. I will come to the sequence. Prashant already asked a question that which test case will run first. I will come to that question, but let's check the console log. So what is happening is running before method, starting test case, done with test case, closing browser. Running before method, starting test case, done with test case, closing browser. Guys, please ignore these red lines. This is log coming from the Chrome driver. Starting registration test case. See, before running before method, registration test case, and closing browser. So the sequence I told you, this sequence, this is exactly what the sequence is for calling. So before method and after method will be called every time for each method, before and after, that way. I hope before method and after method is clear to you guys. So generally people use a before method as a prerequisite to my test case. For example, open the browser, set the size, and keep that URL open. And after method is like cleaning a browser, closing it, saving somewhere, reporting mechanism sometimes. For that we use after method. There is now come to your question. Which method will be called first? Okay, so the answer is it depends on the alphabetical order. By default, it depends on the alphabetical order. Now I had a test cases, 3 test cases. Go back here. See, test case 2, test case 3. So it is starting with test case 2. It is starting with test. So all of these 3 test cases starting with test. But if you compare this character C, C, R, which come first? C, right? And again in both the test cases, case is common, so 2 is coming first. That is why it is getting called first. then 3, and then test registration R, because R is coming after that. So by default the calling sequence is based on the alphabetical order. If you want to make some specific order, I will come to that shortly, how to make some specific order. I hope this answers your query, Suresh. Okay, so what is there anything similar to finally in Java? See, finally it is already in Java. If you are using an exception handling with try catch, you can have a finally, but we are not doing try catch, so we are not using finally here. So finally, see why we need a finally. It should be identified first in the Firefox and then use it. And do we have anything in Chrome? Sorry, your question is not clear to me. I'm sorry, Prashant. All right, maybe if you want, you can have an offline discussion. It should be identified first in Firefox and then use it. And do we have anything in a Chrome? What does anything means? Okay, no problem. We'll take that question offline. Fine. I just don't want all the 29 people's time just for one question, which might be a time consuming, or which might be take some time to understand the question. That's the reason. Now we have 3 test cases. One test case is registration. I gave name as a registration, but what it is doing, it is not actually doing registration. It is just opening that URL, going to the Google page, going back to the page. Actually, we don't need to go to Google page. Why are we going to Google page, right? It doesn't make sense logically. So the actual URL is this. Yeah, actual URL you can compare. After opening a URL, after saying a refresh, you can actually compare the URL with expected. And let's continue to add some more checkpoint. Our objective was to select option from drop down list. Okay, that was our main intention to learn. I wanted to select the option from my drop down list, so that's my drop down list. So if you want to select an option from drop down list, let's say I wanted to select Delhi in this drop down list. So the very first thing you need to do is, while doing any operation, you should inspect that element. You should know that how to identify that element. So I can see that this is my element. Guys, always remember, if it is a drop down list, it has this HTML tag name select and some option, and any one of the option will have a selected. So by default it will be selected first option by default, but you can change that also. So this is my HTML. Is it having any ID? That select tag is having ID? No. Is it having class? No. Is it having name? No. Then what it is just having a tag name. So let me check if the tag name is unique or not. So this is, I am in a XPath mode. So XPath starts with / and the tag name. Right? I'm just hitting enter and see how many matching nodes are there. So right now there is just one matching node. Right now there is just one matching node. That means I can actually use driver dot, I can actually use this code. Find element, sorry for the typo, by dot tag name. And what is the tag name? It is select. Okay, so this is going to give me that element. All right, so let's use the same code. I can use this option. If I wanted to use XPath, then I would have written something like this: driver dot find element by dot. Okay, first I will try with CSS selector. CSS selector, and we only write tag name, right? CSS selector don't start with a // The syntax is tag name square bracket attribute equal to value. So I'm just giving the tag name select. So this is also valid. Driver dot find element by dot, let's try with XPath // select. So all of these three, select. all of these three locator will be pointing to the same element. But as I, sorry for typo, it is tag name. So as I said, the first preference will go to tag name, second preference will go to CSS selector, third preference will go to XPath. As it is not having ID, name, class name, those things are not coming in picture. This is not also a link text. So we can't use a link text. So fine, let's go to code. So web element, okay, which element? So element select equal to driver dot find element, and that by has to be imported. So go to by, control space, and just select that from where it is coming. So also for web element, okay, just go at the end of this element and say control space and just hit enter. That is the solution. So I have that web element now, but I cannot say that web element dot select, is selected is there. It will tell me whether it is that checkbox is selected, that radio button is selected, but it will not tell me whether that element, whether that option from the drop down list is it really selected. So there is a special class in Selenium just to handle a drop down list. Okay, there is a special class in a Selenium to handle a drop down list. For the class name is select. You can see that control space and it is coming. Okay, don't use this select, you have to use this select. Okay, this is a class. C stands for class. It is coming from org openqa.selenium.support.ui. So this is what you need to use. Select. The object name you can give anything. Let's say select equal to, you have to create the object using new keyword, and you can see how you create object. You create object by saying select, and then you need to pass web element object. So my web element object is element select. Okay, so first you need to identify that element, locate that element, and then you need to create select object using the constructor by passing that object. Now I have a select object. On that select object, let's see what different methods are there. Select dot. Can you see select by index, select by value, and select by visible text? These are the three important methods. There are some other methods also there. Those are deselect, 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 and another method is get all selected option, get first selected option. So don't worry about all and first and all and those things. I will come to that, but give me some time. So you can use any one of this method: select by index, select by value, select by visible text. Now what is the difference between select by value, select by index, and select by visible text? So let me show you that HTML first. Yeah, you can see, right, option, 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 and it is having a text. Okay, the text which you see on the screen, this text is known as visible text. Now let's say I want to select a Delhi. Okay, so I will say select by visible by visible text, and there I will just pass that Delhi. So it is going to select Delhi from the drop down list. Okay, I will just add thread.slip so that the browser will be open for some time so that we can see actually what is selected. So I'm creating a method void wait for, it is my own custom method. Okay, inside that custom method I will just call try, not thread.clip, and what it takes milliseconds, but I'm creating a method wait for seconds, so it will take parameter as seconds. Okay, and that seconds I will multiply seconds star, let's say 1000. So Okay, so if I'm passing 5 into 1000, so that will become 5000. So thread.slip takes the parameter into milliseconds. See guys, I'm using thread.slip, and thread.slip might throw checked exception. Those who know Java and the different types of exception, thread.slip might throw checked exception. Which is that exception? It is interrupted exception. So the solution is either write throws or a try catch. So personally, I recommend using try catch because this is like the way of handling, this is a custom way of handling exception. Okay, so if there is any exception, I'm just printing stack trace and ignoring that exception, so it will not fail my test case. All right, now I have a method, wait for seconds, and I will just call that method after selecting Delhi. Maybe 10 seconds, I think it is sufficient. Okay, I just call that method here. Do not have, don't make a habit of using thread.slip everywhere. Instead, just create one method with try catch and thread.slip, and you can call your own method anytime when you want. So okay, and then I'm just saying done registration test case, and let's run it. Guys, please pay attention to the select drop down list, what it is getting selected. It will be visible for 10 seconds only. Okay, see, this was for test case 2. Now this browser is for test case 3, and now it will open the test case registration. Oops, that was closed pretty quickly. Yeah, because the reason is this. My test case will get failed because I have intentionally failed that test case. So let's remove that part so that the test case one checkpoint will be passed and my execution will be continued. Another problem is, see guys, I don't want to run this test case 2 and test case 3, so I'm just commenting it out. There are two options to disable a test case. One option is, code the comment, the hard way. This is like harsh way, not hard way, it is harsh way. It is easy but harsh. I'm just commenting the code, and I might, I might delete this code because I feel this is a dead code, unnecessarily code is there, so I can just delete that comment. But let's say if you want to disable a test case for time being, just for few days or something, you can disable your test case. So @test has some parameter. The parameter name is enabled. Okay, enabled equal to, by default it is true. I'm just making it false. So by saying enabled equal to true, I am actually disabling this test case from running. So this is just for time being. I haven't commented my code. Code is still there. But while picking up this test case, what TestNG does is, TestNG only picks those test cases which have enabled equal to true, and that is the default value. I'm making enabled equal to false. That means TestNG, get to know that this test case is disabled for now, so don't execute. So right click here, run as TestNG test. Can you see that Delhi is selected? And now browser will close. Okay, browser is closed, but yes, Delhi was selected, and this is the way you actually deal with the web element. Okay, this is just 2 lines, 3 lines of a code, and we selected that text with the help of visible text. Visible text means the text which is actually visible to the user in the drop down options. Now there are some other methods also. Okay, let's say I don't want to use visible text. I want to select that second option, whatever it is. I don't care what is that second option. I just want to select that second option. So select by index method I can use. So I'm going to give index as basically 1. Okay, index 0 means the first. This is index. Okay, it is not the number. So I'm saying index 1. That means the second element. Okay, let's try it out. What is the second element? First we will check. This is first element. Select city itself is the first option. Second is Pune. Right click, run as TestNG test. Can you see that Pune is now selected? So this is the way you can select by index. Okay, and there is one more option. You can actually select by a value, which is very rarely used. But for that, your HTML should have a value. So let's go to the source code of our application. Yeah, this is it. Can you see option space value equal to something? You know, generally, why can't I edit this? BNG. Okay, can you see that HTML is having now option value is equal to BNG. Like that, it will have value equal to for all the options. Okay, for example, if you are selecting Pune railway station, then it might have PNQ, or I don't know. Let's say if it is a Thane, it will have TNT. You know, some codes, right? It is there for the airports as well, and the value is written for that option. If I select Bangalore, the value will be passed as PNG. And if you want to select any element with the value whatever it is here, so we write a code, select by value, and the value is BNG. Okay, that was the value, right? BNG, BAN, I think was, it was a BNG, sorry. Okay, so this way it will select Bangalore. Okay, but this is very rarely used. Those people who wanted to select by value only, they go with here. But as an end user, and you know, end user selects any option from the drop down list which is visible to him. So, but yes, this is also an option available. All right, I will just comment it out. I will also comment this. I will uncomment that, and let's take example. After selecting Delhi, I wanted to verify, add a 10-second wait and verify whether Delhi was selected. You know, because for Selenium I said select Delhi, and after selecting a Delhi, you wanted to compare, or you know, check whether Delhi was really selected or not. That you can do using again a select class, select dot get first selected option. First selected option, this is helpful to check what is the selected value. This is going to return you what? Web element. Okay, on that web element you need to call get text. So this will give me actual value. So I'm just getting that first option, get first selected option, and I'm reading the text of that option, and let's compare that text. So for comparison, again asset equal, the actual value you have to give is this, and the expected value was DELHI, because I selected Delhi, so Delhi should be selected. And thing city failed, the failure message, you know, SELECT. This is a failure message if it is not matching with actual and expected. Okay, you might want to add one more validation. Let's say that as soon as you launch your web page, by default the city should be displayed. Okay, this has to be the default value. So you just need to copy that entire text, including the spaces also. There are 2 spaces. Okay, and before selecting, I will just say select dot get first selected option dot get text and I have to compare this text string default value. Default is a keyword. Okay, so dot asset equal, the actual value is default value. Sorry, actual value. Yeah, actual value is the default value, and the expected value is that please select something. Select city. Default value for city field. I'm giving this message in a past tense because this failure messages are there in the test report, and test report is generated after test case execution, and then we go into test report and read the message. So right click, run as TestNG test and see whether this works or not. So running before method, initializing the browser. Okay, Delhi is selected. It will wait for 10 seconds, then it will verify whether Delhi is the value which is really selected or not, and then it is going to close my browser. Yep, my test case is closed, and you can see there is zero failure. That means my test case got passed, and this is green. So what we learned so far, we learned many things like working with window, working with Chrome browser, working with the navigation part, working with drop-down option, working with TestNG uh, on creating test case, on creating multiple test cases. We also learned the before method, after method, those annotation. Both the annotations are known as configuration annotation. Okay, before after these annotations are known as configuration annotation. Then we learn order of test case execution. Then we learn assertion, how to compare expected and actual, how the test case is getting failed. We learn how to add a failure message to a test case. So this is it for today. If you have any question, I'm here. You can ask me questions on a Skype group. Thank you very much. I will take questions now.